The environment art team behind Mario Kart 8 went all out on details, down to racing sponsors that match up to patches on equipment, roller coaster safety instructions, and prices for items in trackside stores. There's an entire world on the other side of the track, and I'd like to go take a look at it. Just get an idea of what it would be like to live, and mostly to commute, in the world of Mario Kart 8. This is the pit area of Mario Kart Stadium, where you can take a look at the Toads hard at work making sure each of the 6 different teams' races go off without a hitch. Each of these teams are also reflected on this board out on the track. The company banners out here in the stadium are all car-related, but that's not true of every track. Like this banner for a diving gear brand, and this one for a comic book store, just to name a few. Inside the pits, alongside the logos of each of the racing teams and an assortment of tiny props, you'll find this rolling box, which to the best of my understanding is called a fuel Bowser, which, along with being extremely fitting to find intricately detailed in a Mario Kart pit, is where we find our first racing sponsor, Fuzzy Battery. Fuzzies are an enemy in Mario typically depicted moving along wires, which is likely where they got their association with electricity here. Behind the huge Fuzzy Battery sign, following this path next to the pits, and moving out of eyeshot of the actual track, there's a whole pack-out area for teams and sponsors to set up. Fuzzy Battery has a tent set up here with what now looks much more like some sort of rolling power supply now that there's no longer a fuel nozzle plugged into the side. There's also tents for Bowser Oil, and a road service company operated by Lakitus, which is a pretty nice choice of Mario enemy, given who's always pulling you back in bounds in Mario games. Each of the teams have their touring trucks backed into their pits, and interestingly, these very permanent-looking structures where I can imagine their teams are able to do their operations from. Here we also find the bottom of what might be a Mario Kart TV broadcast tower, which is a company with the broadcast rights for the event, and is responsible for filming and distributing video of the races. This is actually the same way the game's replay functionality is named, and many of the shots within those replays are pretty clearly meant to be taken as coming from this in-world broadcast. Take a look at this helicopter shot, for example. This replay system is, I think, one of the big reasons why there's so much care put into the details outside of the area you can usually see from the perspective while racing on the track. Mario Kart TV also has these broadcast vans, strategically placed around the busier parts of the tracks, with Toads operating cameras to film you as you approach them. I'm sure you'd have to pay extra for these seats, but they're great for giving you a view of all of the sponsors placed up the sides of the starting line truss. From top to bottom, we've got Lemmy's Tire Service, which looks like a company one could go visit to replace their tires and whatnot, rather than a motorsport-specific tire brand. Golden Wheel, which is much less self-explanatory, especially given this real picture of a gold-plated Wii wheel, which, as far as I've seen, is the only time a real image is used in any of these trackside details. This one in particular leads me to believe that Mario Stadium is the map that they started on when filling out the world with these sponsor logos. Golden Wheel doesn't appear in any other courses. There's Bowser Oil and Mario Kart TV, and on the other side, you can see Fuzzy Battery and Mario Kart TV again, followed by Bullet Bill Speed Trial. What does Bullet Bill Speed Trial sell exactly? My best guess is that this could either be the company behind the Bullet Bill inside of item boxes, like this Red Shell company, or they're the organizers behind the time trial mode. And then, at the very bottom, there's Mario Motors. This is a particularly special one, as it's sort of become the company to use from Mario Kart. It's on the crossover items in Mario Odyssey and on banners in the Raceway in Smash Ultimate's World of Light. It's also the name of the Mario Kart themed gift shop in Super Nintendo World at Universal Studios, inside of which, along the top of the store, we can see banners for some of the other more commonly used sponsors in Mario Kart 8. Bowser Oil, Mushroom Piston, Burning DK Sports Drink, which is the other sponsor in World of Light, and Princess Orange, another brand we'll see more of later with Peach and Daisy, specializing in juices and produce. Anyways, These sponsors are the sponsors that also appear on banners along the side of the track, as well as on these ads placed in the stadium itself. And that's somewhere like 2/3 of the detail put into just one track. But Mario Kart doesn't just take place in this one stadium. With tour destinations on the highest peaks of Mount Wario to the overgrown depths of Wild Woods, only one company could handle global transportation logistics of this scale: Propeller Toad Transport. They've got a pretty busy schedule according to the departures board in Sunshine Airport, and that's pretty evident given just how many cargo containers they have strewn across the tarmac. This is the course where we get the clearest view of one of their airplanes, but their trucks and crates can be found in the pits and parking lots of many others. According to Nintendo marketing material from kind of long after the game's release, Sunshine Airport is the airport on Isle Delfino. For what is possibly a resort airport, it's a pretty busy hub, with flights taking off nearly constantly, a significant amount of cargo being moved from plane to plane, and a departure board full of flights to other Mario Kart tracks. In addition to Propeller Toad Transport, Sunshine Airport is host to a couple other airlines as well. Paratroopa Airlines doesn't have a plane out on the runway, but there is a sign for passengers checking in. Boomerang Bros International Airlines focuses more on business and long-haul flights, and Galaxy Air seems to be more focused on vacation destinations, given these tourism posters seen around the terminal. Like this one for Sweet Sweet Canyon, which suggests that this course is not only open for the Mushroom Cup, but is also a travel destination outside of races as well. And while we're visiting, these cakes didn't just grow here, right? So who made this? Well, it would seem to be a creation of Peach and Daisy Royal Patisserie, given their logos are pretty present throughout the track, alongside their sister brand, Princess Orange, that banner seen in the Super Nintendo World store from earlier. These two logos are the only ones present throughout the track. No trackside sponsor banners or distant billboards. There are dedicated Royal Patisserie storefronts in other courses, but if you're going to be able to afford to make something this massive without external sponsors, you're going to need more than just the profits of a restaurant chain. In the battle stage version of this course, there is what looks to be a headquarters of sorts, leading me to imagine their products could be found in stores across the Mushroom Kingdom. So this location would seem to be more of like a marketing stunt, or maybe a branded resort. Take these little houses placed around the track. The lack of mailboxes here, for instance, makes these feel more like resort rooms than permanent residences. That would certainly explain why Galaxy Air is putting up vacation destination promotions for Sweet Sweet Canyon, and definitely how they're able to afford as many sponsorship spots in other courses as they have. In fact, we see a couple big brands up here in these banner spots. Coconut Cafe in particular appears really often on other courses too, and seeing as this is an airport, I bet there's a handful of Coconut Cafe kiosks near the gates. Kiosks that might look a little bit like this. This is the Coconut Cafe stall in Super Bell's Subway, another hub in the travel network of the Mushroom Kingdom. This subway was one of the last tracks released, being from the final DLC pack for the original Mario Kart 8, so it makes sense that this has some of the most fully realized trackside details. Near the starting line, there's a flower shop called Fun Flower, and a little lunch spot called Tropical Bakery. These are names used quite a bit elsewhere in the game, but this time they're fully imagined as storefronts. There's these chalkboard drawings, some low-poly display sandwiches, a nice little seating area to the side of Coconut Cafe with menu standees, and, as expected, some Peach and Daisy Royal Patisserie baked goods for purchase. There's also a cool little pair of vending machines, which also carry some sort of Royal Patisserie drink. And there's Burning DK from earlier, too. I especially love these little glass milk bottles. Coconut Cafe proudly presents this Moo Moo Meadows milk sign behind the counter under the menu, which seems to be where they supply their milk from. And because that's another course, Moo Meadows Milk is a supplier we can actually go and visit. Actually, Moo Meadows is pretty close to the subway, sitting just a bit southeast of the station, or at least according to this map in Super Bell Subway. There's a bunch of recognizable names on this map, and a couple we haven't seen yet. Lemmy's Tire Service can be found pretty close to the station, and there's a building for Burning DK Sports Drink. There's Wario's Gold Mine, which, considering the size of the building, is most likely a corporate office rather than the full actual gold mine. Bowser Oil, for whatever reason, is split across 3 buildings in one intersection. Maybe they're doing more than just motor oil. This large area is marked as Mushroom Beach, which could be a number of different beaches present in Mario Kart, but it is a specific location name, just not until Super Mario Party. And Toad Harbor. This Toad Harbor, home to a massive Toad toy store, a wonderful little market, and a healthy local transit system. Here at the bottom of the hill, we have a great view of the Peach statue out in the ocean, and this really neat little boardwalk shop. Across the street, there's a little building with a standalone Peach and Daisy Royal Patisserie, and a nice shaded dining area for Fountain Cafe, which is a rare example of a company coming from a previous Mario Kart entry, taking its name from these fountains leading up to a food court in Mario Kart Wii. This is also where Funflower, Tropical Bakery, and Coconut Cafe come from. Speaking of Coconut Cafe, here we also find a pretty big Coconut Cafe location with a bright open outdoor seating area right by the seafront. Heading over this bridge, we enter this market street with massive, colorful tents for shade and a bunch of signs for the cafes and kiosks we've seen in other tracks. As well as a larger, separated shop for Princess Orange, which I imagine has a large selection of produce in addition to the juices we've seen before. These shops have a bunch of posters in their windows, which makes this feel like a really lively community. There's also a sign for Yoshi's Egg Market, which seems to be something of a local vendor market, given its layout and presentation across a whole street in Yoshi Circuit. Yoshi Circuit also has a full Mario Motors garage with Propeller Toad transport boxes. In warm red light filtering through the glass canopy of an outdoor amphitheater. The Market Street also has a sign for Tropical Grocery, which has a much larger standalone store up on top of the hill. Passing by the Castle Clock Tower, we find a sign for Shy Guy Metals, which seems to coincide with their crystal mining operations in Shy Guy Falls. And here we arrive at Tropical Grocery, advertising Princess Orange out front. The streetcar passes right by it, and naturally there's a couple spots to grab coffee nearby. It seems to have a pretty large building for a grocery store, but this larger curved section has its own pretty grand entrance and a very different roof. This larger building is Toad Toy Store. It's actually split into 3 separate buildings spanning across this whole street. Toad Toy Store has its own course, Ribbon Road, similarly to Peach and Daisy with Sweet Sweet Canyon. This one's even more clearly made by Toad Toy Store, with the track itself being a toy set you can buy from them. There's a bunch of 7th scale models of carts, each having boxes with logos for Lemmy's Tire Service and Mario Motors on them, in some sort of collaborative effort between the three. It's likely that this is a life-size promotional version of the track, as it doesn't seem like the entirety of Raven Road would pack neatly into this building. Oh, we haven't even gone out to the subway platform yet, have we? Heading out to the trains, Galaxy Air is also advertising for Sweet Sweet Canyon here. And there's this double frame poster for the space exploration company behind this game's Rainbow Road. There's also a poster for car insurance. Underneath these signs for departing trains to other courses, we find some more advertisements and banners. This time there's even one for Mario Kart 8. And on the other platform, there's a transit line diagram. This one in particular is for the Orange Line, and it's already got a star-studded cast of destinations. The 2 ending destinations are also shown on signage around other parts of the track. Over at the ticketing area, that transit line is expanded into an entire transit map, and directly underneath Superbell Subway is our next stop, Toad's Turnpike. Toad's Turnpike is a course that takes place near a service plaza on the main highway in this city. This direction board shows off the restaurants found inside, but it's hard to get a good look at it with these travel buses driving in front of everything. These buses seem to be chartered by the Sunshine Airport Airlines, which would seem to either indicate that Delfino Isle is connected by road, or that the marketing piece that we saw maybe isn't fully accurate. Anyways, we're here for a reason. One bus and one sign together confirm the name of the area we're in. Welcome to Toad City. That's where we find the name of the area that this map covers. This metropolitan area might seem pretty thematically different than Toad Harbor, but the tour bus has a sticker for Toad Harbor right near its Toad City sightseeing print. But taking a look at the rest of the transit map in particular, it seems a lot more like they picked the names of these courses at random just to fill in the stops. Like the end of the Green Line has a desert, a mountain, and a busy airport all right next to each other, and while Yoshi's Circuit does have a lot of the same businesses present as those in Toad City, it's on an island. And I mean, Rainbow Road? Really? Oh, yeah. There's Toad City. I think Toad City is the location of a lot of different courses in Mario Kart 8. It is, after all, in the background of some key art for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. You can even see the same Peach statue in the far background near where Toad Harbor would be. So, while I don't think the transit stops here are meant to be taken directly, I think it does at least show that these maps are all intended to be in the same world, maybe even in the same relatively small geographic area. And it's not completely out of the picture for there to be an underwater rail line. Certainly the Mushroom Kingdom is no stranger to fantastical geographies, often having ice worlds and lava worlds within walking distance of each other. And look no further than the many instances of Peach's Castle for proof that there never really has been a concrete layout for the Mushroom Kingdom. And really, it's better off this way. Each game under the Mario umbrella can shift and change the locations to best suit itself, taking some Mushroom Kingdom elements, leaving some others, and approach its world with a big glass of Nintendo brand fun, without being completely locked down into a single official canon. I mean, after all, the Mushroom Kingdom isn't real, right? Mario is often depicted as being on Earth, in Wi-Fi connection menus, in world maps in 3D Mario games, or, say, in Mario is Missing, which sees Luigi searching real-world locations for Mario. But I don't think this necessarily means that the team behind any particular Mario entry is too concerned about the real-world viability of the world they're building. They're just trying to make the game as enjoyable as possible. If you asked them, they'd probably sit and think for a moment and say something like, well, Mario just takes place in a whimsical version of the real world. And the designs of the real world city courses definitely reflect that. Earlier entries into the Mario umbrella addressed this relationship more directly, with some of the shows explaining that the Mushroom Kingdom Earth and the real world Earth are parallel universes. So that's why you can see Europe from Rainbow Road. I just think it's really interesting to see that Mario Kart 8 makes a pretty active attempt to be kind of realistically grounded, at least for the Mario series, with businesses and houses and series staple enemies living their lives, and at least some thought put into the logistics to make this world work. And yet, it doesn't bog itself down with realism. It has anti-gravity sections, practically impossible structures, and a company with the ability to transform drivers into bullet bills. It is an achievement that it's really not that weird to see Paris just a flight away from a canyon made entirely out of sugar. Oh, we didn't even talk about Coconut Mall.